Hello world, it's Gojo4 with you once again. I'm back. Happy New Year, happy 2017. I know today is a big day politically for various reasons, and this isn't a political channel, so I'm not gonna delve into that. So, anyway, big news as Kong Skull Island nears towards us. New TV spots, trailers, toys, all this great stuff. But there's something bigger going on because obviously this is part of a larger cinematic universe tying into Godzilla, right? Well, now, finally, we have an official name for this franchise. As seen on the back of several toys, a case of the toy cases, boxes, it says on the back, MonsterVerse. And also, apparently, when Thomas Toll, the guy who ran Legendary, who's now moving more to a producer position, apparently when he did that, he referred to it as the MonsterVerse. So that is our official name for this thing, the MonsterVerse. Kind of like the Marvel Cinematic Universe or the DC Expanded Universe, I think is what it's called. Yeah, but this is like an official thing. There's the logo and everything on the back of the toy branding. So that's really cool. I wasn't sure if they were just going to call it Godzilla Kong Cinematic Universe. No, they're really branding this as a connected series. And also one of the TV spots already kind of features the John Goodman's character mentioning the 1954 nuclear test. So already the advertising showing that. I didn't even think they would show that in the advertising, but they're already making the links clear. So now we're on to what Kong Skull Island will begin to reveal more in this series, because it's kind of like, now that we're going backwards in time, it has to kind of fill in some gaps of what happened before Godzilla 2014, or the actual events in that movie that take place in 2014, obviously. And I think a big thing is maybe kind of explaining more about Monarch's story and all this, because we don't really get much of Monarch as its own entity in 2014. It's Serizawa and his assistant, and I apologize because I forgot her name. I forgot and they just, that's it. That's all we really see of Monarch, and then the military just kind of takes over. So we don't really get to see in the film much of what they do. It just kind of explains. He just kind of explains why the organization was founded and what they kind of do, but not really. Then there was the Godzilla Awakening comic book, which was alright, I guess. At the time, it was a cool little tie-in to the movie, but looking back, it was a decent story. The art wasn't very good. I really kind of hope that Kong Skull Island retcons a lot of that out, because it's made. That comic book was made back when we didn't even know this cinematic universe existed. I don't even think they had planned it yet. I don't think this was planned until after Godzilla came out. So that comic book will probably just get retconned out and forgotten about, which I would be okay with. But I've already been thinking about several theories and facts going into Kong Skull Island. But like with John Goodman, how long has he been with Monarch? Was he there from the beginning? One big thing he says is he's been spending the last 30 years. Remember that number, 30 years trying to prove monsters exist. If you do the math right, 1954, the film Kong Skull Island is set in 1971. The year that's less than 20 years after 1954. By John Goodman's word, if we're going to take him on his word, it would be, he's talking about, he's been trying to prove monsters exist since like 1941. So Monarch started obviously before 1954. Even in the Awakening comic they mentioned that. It started sometime after World War II. So more than possible, I think John Goodman, here's my theory already. John Goodman's character was a soldier of some type in the Pacific conflict during World War II. And maybe he saw something on an island. And after that, maybe he joined Monarch, And and that's what he's been connected to this thing from the beginning, which I really hope that's true, because that way we kind of get to see the way Monarch formed and developed and what they've been doing all these years. And maybe John Goodman is kind of our link to other creatures, because maybe he's got not only files on Skull Island, but maybe he's got files on other creatures. I'd love a little Easter egg at the end of the movie, maybe, where they're going through his files or something somewhere, or maybe he's going through his files, maybe somewhere in the movie, and it says, just very discreet for 2 seconds, one of the files at the top says Mothra, Rodan, or something. Or maybe at the end, you know, they're looking through, and he's like, oh, he had code names or something. What's this one called? Mothra. Something like that, where like it reveals that they're keeping tabs on other creatures, because we know they are, and they have files on other creatures. So I hope they use kind of Kong Skull Island to drop in, sprinkle in little Easter eggs like that, because this film is kind of our lead up into Godzilla 2, which we're highly assuming that Mothra and Rodan are going to show up in that film. So I think Kong Skull Island is going to have to set. It would be cool for Kong Skull Island to start setting up those films, and it also is the setup for Godzilla vs. Kong, obviously. But I also like to see it give a little more backstory on Monarch, and you know, give a little more depth to that organization. And but yeah, you know, it's crazy. The MonsterVerse, it's happening. I mean, there's probably so much more we can talk about and discuss and theorize at this point, and then, you know, we could talk about what happens after Godzilla vs. Kong. But I think for now, this is all I have to say on this. And you know, I'm just excited. I'm pumped. And you know, it's crazy to see that this is finally really happening now. You know, they've been talking about it for a couple of months now, but now that finally it's starting to sink in that this is a real connected universe, it's really exciting. It's just an exciting time to be a giant monster fan. So anyway, guys, that's all for this vlog. I hope you guys are having a wonderful weekend, and I'll see you next time. Bye!